Woo-wee.
Our next guest is someone who I am always excited to bring on the show. He is as big of a New York sports fan as you're going to find. He also happens to be a Hollywood actor and, of course, the host of the Throwbacks podcast with Matt Leinart. The great Jerry Ferrara joins us now. Jerry, the Knicks are world champions, baby. How we feeling?
I have not come down yet from this high, as I would call it. I start off every morning with the OG tip-in video. I usually segue into, by lunch, a Brunson "No One Believed in Him" video, and I usually end the evening with Mike Breen saying, "Go ahead and cry, Knick fan, or this is not a dream." That's how I usually end my day.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things I wanted to bring up to you is seeing them win. What was the initial reaction? Did it take us through what the emotions were? Did you scream and yell? Did you cry? What was it like watching Game 5, seeing them win?
So the beautiful thing about sports and about basketball in general is my now 7-year-old has gotten so into the Knicks because of me. And I tried really hard not to pass on the obsessive Knicks woe is me gene to him, but he got it. It's there. And we've watched every game this season, let alone the playoff run. So right as they won, I picked him up and I was jumping up and down and I felt tears forming. But then when I looked at him, he was hysterical, bawling his eyes out. My wife was filming us from upstairs. I posted the video, like the NBA reposted it. And now he's like the crying kid for the Knicks, except for a championship, not for the draft, when they usually draft a player that is never going to come here from France or something. Now he's the crying kid because of a Knicks championship.
That's an awesome story. So for you, I mean, you obviously have been around this franchise for a very long time. In fact, if you watch the pilot episode of Entourage, you're rocking, I think, the Bernard King jersey, right?
Bernard King.
You're Mr. Knick, and I know how much the Knicks, mean to you. Was there a moment during this run where you felt like, wow, they're actually going to win it all? When did it really hit you that this team was special, that they could win a championship?
So, look, I think any Knick fan for a long time, if you go back, you don't even have to go necessarily back to 94, but it helps. But if you even go back to early 2000s, you just don't expect good things to happen, even when things are looking good, right? Like Jeremy Lin looked great and then hurts his knee, right? The 2013 Knicks were fantastic, and then Roy Hibbert started blocking everything at the rim in the last year that Roy Hibbert was like a center in the NBA, essentially. So I always manage expectations. I always just want to be at the party. I don't have to be the man of the party. But for me, right after that Cavs game 1 comeback was where I said, the things I always thought the Knicks would have to figure out to win a championship is, can you win when you don't have your A+ game and not hitting threes? And can you close the door? Because even if you go back to last season, closing the door in the fourth quarter was an issue. And after I saw that game against the Cavs, I really started to believe. I just don't think you could beat this team. I think you have to kill them to beat them.
Jerry Ferrara is our guest here on ESPN New York, host of the Throwbacks podcast, which you should check out. Jerry recently had Kevin Connolly and Kevin Dillon on for all my fellow Entourage fans out there, so definitely take a listen to that. In terms of the run, I think what's so incredible is they're down 2-1 to Atlanta in the first round, and then obviously they go on this incredible run. They only lose one more game after the first round. And this team is so likable, and they were so dominant. I can't think of another recent New York sports team that has like the lovable label and also the dominant label. It's very unique how this all kind of came together.
Yeah, if you start looking at like championship quality teams, the 09 Yankees, I don't know if they were the most likable team. A-Rod went through a lot with that team and a lot of injuries and stuff. Obviously, you could point to the two of those giant Super Bowl teams. I don't know about likability, but definitely the same heart. And maybe you could say the 07 team was likable with Strahan and OC and Tuck and all that. Yeah, I think you might have to go back to some of like the early 90s Yankees teams that, young Jeter, Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams to say that it was one of those teams. And look, it says I see on the prompter that I'm a Giants fan, Jake. You know that. I know for you with the Jets, I do feel like the Jets are now next up. I'm not trying to segue you into a bigger conversation, but that is now the championship where I think people will absolutely lose their mind.
Wow, I've just seen this on the YouTube. It says Jet fan next year, Dave. I mean, someone's going to lose their job here at ESPN New York, Jerry. How dare they make that mistake?
As a Jets hater, because I think it's fun. I don't hate the Jets. I like the Jets. But, yeah, that hurt me right there.
Well, it's funny because obviously there's a great episode of Entourage where you're playing golf with Tom Brady and the turtle character. It wants to just tell Brady how much he stinks. And what I've always got a kick out of is like if you were a Jet fan, to me that'd make more sense. Like, what does a Giant fan hate Brady for? You guys owned him in the Super Bowl twice.
So that was a product, Jake, of that episode was supposed to involve, I think, Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. We're going to play Vince and Johnny Drama 2-on-2 in golf, and they had to pull out. And that was Mark Wahlberg coming in and saying, hey, do you want me to just get Brady? And we're like, yeah, get him. He was coming off the knee injury, so we hadn't really seen Brady in a year and a half. So Doug Ellen, thinking on his feet, was like, you know what? Even though we won the title, it's easy. He's too good of a guy. Maybe we just hate him because he's too perfect. And I think that's what that episode became.
That is outstanding. We'll definitely talk about your New York Football Giants a bit later on in the conversation. In terms of just now where Jalen Brunson ranks. I mean, of course, you've seen some of the best Knicks players ever. When you rank the all-time Knicks, where does Brunson fall on your list?
I've thought about this for a while. Now, I have a hard time ranking history. Like I put Clyde first out of like respect, but I wasn't around for that. I never saw him play. I've seen the grainy highlights. He was a monster. Sure, he deserves to be one. But for me, as a 46-year-old born in 79, who's lived through this team pretty much since I was 7 years old, he's number one. He did what Patrick Ewing, who tried his damnedest, couldn't do. And I don't fault Patrick Ewing for that. He certainly wanted it. It was not for lack of effort. And Charles Oakley and John Starks. And then I appreciate Melo for coming here when no other superstar wanted to come to New York. Whatever you want to think about Melo's run, he came here when no one else wanted. But Jalen Brunson, and this whole team, but Brunson being the guy of the team, yeah, he's number one for me.
If Entourage was around today, Jerry, you putting Brunson and Josh Hart in an episode together, the entire Knicks starting five, who makes the cut for the Entourage reboot Knicks cameo?
Brunson and Hart, 1,000%. I think before free agency, Mitchell Robinson would have been my side hustle to Doug. Like, we got to put Mitch in with like some giant F-350 that he probably has because Mitch is the man. But yes, Brunson and Hart for sure. I want to dare I say, even if no championship would have probably been on. But famously, we had Teixeira and A-Rod on the show right after they won the World Series in 2009.
And that was a great episode. So I wish we got the reboot. Maybe we still will. I'll ask you about that coming up, because I know a ton of New York sports fans would love that. You brought up Mitchell Robinson, and I saw your tweet after he signed with the Celtics. You said, you will never hear an ovation for a Celtics player at MSG louder than the one Mitchell Robinson will get when he returns. Do you think all Knicks fans are going to be cheering him? Do you think there could be any boos because he did go to Boston? Take us through your thoughts on Mitch leaving and going to the Celtics.
I think when his first time back at the Garden, and I don't know if he's probably going to be starting, obviously, but whatever. Whenever they call his name, whether it's in starting lineups or subbing in, I think it's going to be 99% just cheer, standing ovation. I think there'll be the 1% who are, haters. And then I think maybe as the game goes on, because Knicks fans are great this way, I think they'll start getting into it. Look, could you imagine, though, Jake, if Mitchell Robinson in the Garden gets fouled in a Celtic uniform and goes 2 for 2. You don't think the Knicks fans are going to cheer for that?
Will.
Or
You're
they're
right.
going to cheer for, or they're going to, like, what's going to, like, I'm more interested in seeing what happens when he goes to the line. But, I mean, beloved, how could that guy, I'm sorry, and you want to say he went to Boston, like, sure, I get it. That's tough, and he's going to be a problem for us, but come on, that was just economics, man. Like, he didn't want to go to Boston, but I'm sure that's the team that paid him, and I don't disrespect anybody for getting their money like that, so.
I totally agree. And I'll tell you what, I think what makes it a little easier for me to stomach is that, later that day they trade Jaylen Brown to the Sixers. So now I don't look at the Celtics as the same threat that I did prior to that move.
Correct. And yeah, like, the fact that he was the longest tenured Knick there, and, the hand stuff, which was so concerning, and how did that happen in the finals, but he played through it. And you really, after game one, and he missed a few lob dunks, like, you didn't really hear a whole lot of the hand by end of game 2. Going up 2-0. So just, you got to take your hat off. And I think he's one of the great Knicks that we'll ever see. Second round pick, by the way. So when we all talk about all these draft picks, it's a fun exercise to do. I think the only like top 15 draft picks on the whole Knicks roster was like Bridges. And I think OG went in the top 20, maybe 23 or something. So second round pick, Mitchell Robinson.
No doubt. Jerry Ferrara, our guest. Check out his podcast with Matt Leinart. Throwbacks, of course, you know him from Entourage, Power, a bunch of TV shows and movies as we talk all things New York sports with Jerry. In terms of the rest of the Eastern Conference, do you still like the Knicks' chances again with LeBron going to your neck of the woods in Cleveland? Would that change your thoughts on the way the conference currently looks? Break down the Knicks' competition right now.
So I've been pitching this all over the place. This is something that's never going to happen. But why can't we? I believe that the defending champions should get cap relief as long as you're not bringing in a new player. I wish you could run it back. I truly wish that the Thunder could have run it back, and they did the best they could, and they were losing role players now. I wish you could run it back, but you can't. So looking around the East, Philly, which is the fan base that I despise the most, I'm definitely keeping an eye out with them if they get the right healthy Embiid stretch. To me, the one team really that we have no Knick fans really talked about that I think is going under the radar now because they didn't get their first round pick is Indiana. And I think Indiana is going to have something to say when we get into like April of next year. So it's Boston, Philly, Indy, and then I just don't know with Miami yet. Like you expect them to be there, but for me, when healthy, I don't think that the turnover ratio with the Knicks with players are bringing Sham. I don't know what's going to happen with Deuce, but I don't see why they should not be able to make another real run again.
Switching to football, your Giants, new coach. You got year 2 of Jackson Dart. This is the most optimism I think I've seen from my Giant fan friends in years. Are you feeling optimistic about Big Blue?
I really was. And again, I enjoyed the draft again. I thought the draft went really well. I think that's 2 years in a row where I think they drafted really well and really smart. The neighbor's injury is just terrifying. It's just horrible to hear that, another surgery and maybe week 6. Like it's just, turns into a 2-year injury from a guy who is exactly what the NFL is today. Malik Neighbors is the number 1 receiver that the NFL needs today. He's vertical. He's over the middle, great hands, right size. And it's exactly what Jackson Dart needs. So I'm optimistic for sure, but I think they need Neighbors to really compete. So if he comes back week 6, week 7, week 8, and he's the Malik Neighbors we saw a year and a half ago or whatever, a year ago, then I think there's a real chance this team could get some playoff action. And it's kind of back to the Knicks with Giant fans. It's like, and again, I can't complain about the Giants. They give me so much joy, but you just want to get back into the mix. That's where I was when the Knicks got Brunson. Like, get me back into the party, man, which is the playoffs.
Well, you tell me if you see the comparison I'm going to try and lay out for you. The Knicks hiring Thibodeau to kind of get them back on track, raise their floor. They made the playoffs in 4 of his 5 years, of course. Is that maybe similar to bringing in Harbaugh as a proven coach and could raise the floor, the expectations, the standards for the Giants?
I think so, because the biggest thing, and I do think New York fans all owe Thibodeau a great deal of thanks, and a lot of smart, most fans believe that. But I think bringing back the, I don't want to say mistake-free, because Harbaugh teams can make mistakes for sure, but just like don't beat yourself. And that's usually what coaches like Harbaugh, Thibodeau are usually really good at, is like, hey, if you're going to beat us, you have to beat us. We are not going to beat ourselves. And that has not been the case. If you look at the Giants last year, would they blow 5 or 6 fourth quarter leads? Like big fourth quarter leads, Jake. Fourth quarter leads that if you were live betting, you would have been like, oh, great. I'll take the Giants here. I'll take the Giants there. So don't beat yourselves. I think Harbaugh is going to bring a lot of respectability back.
Jerry Ferrara is our guest. So before I had you on, Jerry, I asked the YouTube chat for ESPN New York if they had any interesting questions for you. And I thought this one from David was pretty good. Everyone knows you played Turtle on the show Entourage, but you were young when you got that role. So how many people did you have to beat out to win the role of being Turtle on the show, and kind of take us through the audition process to how you landed the role in the first place?
It's a great question, David. So back then, when you're going after a show, it's very much like Hard Knocks, meaning that's my sports reference. So you see all the other people. The final day of auditions, they bring 3 or 4 people for each role into HBO, where there's like this little theater, and you are getting called in and doing your auditions and battling it out. And they're sending people out of the room and mixing and matching. And then throughout the day, people just start getting cut. Like, oh, you can go home. You can go home. You can go home.
Do they say bring your playbook in or bring your script in when they cut you?
Essentially, bring your script. Bring your script. Thank you very much. We'll say some good things about you, and maybe you'll end up somewhere else. So, yeah, I probably 3 or 4 contenders besides me, but I did think going in, as I gotten to know the producers throughout the whole process, I did think going in, maybe I was wrong, but I thought I was the guy to beat going into that final day. So
You made the team. I think it's fair to
I
say.
made the team. I made the team. Yeah.
All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throw in some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right.
Entourage premiered almost 22 years ago. I think it was July 18th, 2004. So the anniversary is coming up. I get asked by people all the time about a reboot, a reunion. I also get asked this question, so I just want to relay it to you. In fact, my producer, Gator, he's the one who sent me this one. Could you make Entourage today, or is that the type of show that would be impossible to make in today's, quote-unquote cancel culture?
So, look, I don't know if you can make any show from that started in 2004. Like, could you make The Sopranos now? I mean, again, dramas tend to get away with more than comedies. For some reason, everyone with Entourage thought that we were like doing a reality show. It was an entertainment show. I do think you could make it today. As a matter of fact, I am working on a project that in my mind is what Entourage would be today. So I'm working on that right now, and it might even be at HBO. Who knows one day. But I think as far as like reboot stuff, I always am like, sure, I never say no and rule out anything, never say never, but it never really felt like a thing. But what's happening now, Jake, that is truly unbelievable. And I literally just got a FaceTime from a buddy of mine who covers the Texas Rangers, and he put a player on FaceTime with me who's 23 years old. What's happening now is like 27 and unders are discovering Entourage, like this time capsule piece. And they're going like, wow, is this what pre-social media was like? And this is what LA was like, and all the music and that. So it is catching fire with younger, like 18 to I'll say 28. And that, which is what I know studios are very interested in, that is breathing a new life into the show in a whole different way.
Man, I think it's a no-brainer, but that project you're working on, I mean, if you need anyone to play a radio host in that somehow, I'd be happy to lend my acting chops to you.
There is a very big sports thread in it. So, yes, absolutely. We could cut to like you on ESPN radio or on your YouTube channel or whatever for sure.
Jerry, you're the man. Congrats again to our Knicks. I had to get you on to talk about the championship, first time since they won, of course. So continued success in your career. The podcast with you and Leiter is awesome as well.
More people have congratulated me than when I got married. So, it's a big deal in my life. Thank you. Talk soon.
That's awesome. Jerry Ferrara, actor, producer, of course, Turtle from Entourage. He's on the show Power as well, Lone Survivor, a bunch of hit TV shows and movies. Great stuff with him there.